Hey guys, Sean from Top 5 Fit. Going to go over some upper back and shoulder mobility stretches using our resistance bands here. Kind of an important thing to focus on, your upper body mobility. It's overlooked. A lot of people focus on their strength and, obviously the overall aesthetics and appearance, but sometimes the mobility is actually left out, and that's one of the things that can stop your gains pretty quick. So what we're going to go over are some positions that you can get into to kind of help loosen up some difficult to reach tissue, and at the same time kind of further your improvement in the weight room and in the training area. All right, the resistance band that I like to use because I'm a little heavier, this is a number 6. It's about 100 to 125 pounds worth of resistance at tension. And basically it's strong enough to support my body weight when we start getting into some of the positions. So you don't necessarily have to use one this size. There are smaller, there's one larger, but the idea is you do have to at some point kind of suspend your body weight, so you want something that you're going to feel safe doing that with. So to start off with, it's a double arm, upper body, upper back stretch. It kind of covers a lot of tissue at one time, and it's a real fast, quick thing to do, basically to kind of loosen things up and get you ready to go before really anything back work, chest work. So you start off with, grab the band, take your hands, and put them up through and bring them back towards you so that ultimately that band is nice and snug around the wrist. You don't want to be up here and have a whole lot of slack, because then ultimately you're just relying on your grip to maintain your body position, and if that ever slips, you can obviously fall, and that doesn't feel good. So always make sure that you get kind of hands touching, thumbs touching, and then that band is nice and snug around the wrist. From this position, you're just going to turn your hands out and grasp down on each side of the band. Now your grip, as well as the tension created by the band sticking to your skin, that's going to kind of keep things in place. All you're going to do from this point is walk your feet back just far enough so that you can kind of feel the balance point between right where you're about to fall and the band is supporting your body weight. Bend your knees just a little bit, drop your hips down, and let your shoulders relax, and you could even take your head down through your shoulders. Now the point of this is to open up the lats, open up the meat in between the rib cage, the intercostals, as well as get into the lumbar area, lower back musculature. Take a look at that again. Nice and snug against the wrists, grab down, walk it back, stick your butt out nice and far. Your head should be almost right over top of your feet. Bend the knees, sit back, and you want to just hang. Next upper body and shoulder mobility stretch we want to take a look at. Single arm, or start with the rear delts and the lats. So we're going to start with one hand in, and again, same rules apply. Make sure the band is nice and snug to the wrist. Go ahead and grab down on both sides, and depending upon your hand size too, sometimes I'll actually slip a finger between there, sometimes I'll just grab both sides. As long as the band is sticking to the skin and you don't have to crush the band and use your grip that much, that's the whole goal here, is you're basically trying to remain fairly relaxed here so you can let all of this tissue stretch. So hand in, grab down. You're going to want to turn in so that basically your arm is cutting across your body. Take the opposite arm and literally just dangle it over top. You can hold if you want to, but honestly it keeps this arm in a little tighter to the body if you just let this hang. So kind of let that relax. Take your outside foot, turn the toe out and away from you just a little. That way it's easier to bend the knee and lean away from the point of attachment. And you'll feel that stretch hitting the delts as well as reaching all the way into the rhomboids and into the lats. Now, a couple of different positions you can get into here. If you focus on lunging out, so basically I'm keeping my hips right up underneath my head. If you focus on lunging out, that's going to keep a lot of the stretch primarily in the rear delts and up here into the trap and into the rhomboid. If I focus on leaning and actually taking my shoulder down towards the ground, I now run directly up into the trap and into the neck. So you can actually work different ranges of the same muscle just by changing the body position from a lunge to a lean. Okay, next we want to get into the inferior capsule of the shoulder, basically your armpit, the rib cage, intercostals, the muscles in between each one of the ribs, as well as the attachment points for the lats. So we'll start again, putting one arm in. Go ahead and get your head by your shoulder in your opposite hand on the opposite leg. This is just for stability and balance in the beginning. Walk it back just far enough so that you feel that pull from the armpit all the way down to the rib cage. Once you're there, you can either leave this hand right here on the leg or actually drop it down and start to straighten out the opposite side just to increase that angle of pull. Now, when you straighten out the opposite side, you'll tend to feel that stretch a little bit deeper down into the lower back. If you keep the knee bent, it stays a little bit more centered on the lats and the intercostals. Okay, lastly, we're going to get into the pecs and the front sides of the shoulder. Same rules apply with the band. Right around the wrists, nice and snug, grab down on both sides. This time what you want to do, get your same side foot in front. So right now my left hand is in the band. I'm going to put my left foot in front of me. The idea here is taking the hips towards the wall that's away from me to open up that insertion and attachment point, that origin and attachment point of the pecs. So once I can actually feel a stretch, palm up towards the ceiling. This actually brings the insertion points of the pec, which are on my arm, a little bit more forward so I can increase the amount of pull going across that tissue. All right, real easy exercises and stretches to do to make sure that the shoulders and upper body stay nice and mobile for all of your lifts and all of your training. As far as repetitions and how many times to do this, and when you think about your daily activities and how much you actually use your upper body and then throw training in on top of that, you're never really, at least in my opinion, going to get to the point where you're overstretching. So feel free to kind of pepper your day with this. So start in the morning. Mobility activities are always great before you get into any kind of training situation, and as the day goes on, if you're working at a desk or even if you're outside and laboring pretty hard, things are getting tight, feel free to go after them again just to kind of back off the tension that builds from those everyday activities.